Well, if you ever think this channel is a little bit of a breeze for me, a 6:30 alarm call this morning on Easter Sunday, when quite frankly I could have done with a bit more time in bed, tells me slightly differently, but I'm here. We're all doing our bit after Postecoglou and Celtic did their bit yesterday. I'm not talking too loud on today's video because it's still early, about 8 o'clock, and I don't want to wake anyone else up. But yeah, we're going to be champions. So yeah, one hell of a day yesterday. I have rewatched the match since I got in. I've got some stuff to say on that. I will also go through some of your comments. We'll have a wee laugh at Rangers at the end. And we've got a set of quotes from Ange that are pretty amazing. You'll probably have seen, but we can chat about at the end as well. But we start where we normally do, with a look at the league table, and it looks glorious this morning. Celtic are 12 points clear now. If we forget about goal difference for a minute, which is admittedly quite difficult given how far ahead we are of our rivals, Celtic need 10 more points from our final 7 matches to become champions. So we can take 3 of those next weekend at Kilmarnock and 3 more at home to Motherwell the following week. If that happens, we will go into the split needing 4 more points to win the league. And that's assuming Rangers win their next 2 matches, which are tough ones for them. So we could actually do it in a fortnight's time if we win our next 2 and they don't win either of their next 2. I think the most realistic scenario is that we are crowned champions on match day 34 or 35, so first or second after the split. I think there's then a fair chance we'll go to Ibrox on match day 36. The police won't want that as being a decider, so I don't think they'll put it in either of the first 2 games. I don't think it would be match day 37 because that's a midweek one, and match day 38 is obviously going to be Celtic Park Trophy Day. So I think we're looking at hopefully winning the league either match day 34 or 35, then go to Ibrox for match day 36. We've got this all ahead of us, everyone. So yeah, yesterday was our 29th league win in 31 games. As you can see, probably the toughest win we have had in the league this season as well. I should say at this point that me and Asim did a live reaction from the wonderful Babity Bowster yesterday. That is linked above as always. And as always, those kind of reaction videos are a bit all over the place. For most of the games, I like to, do notes on my phone, and I'll kind of, if you ever see me at a game, spend a wee bit of time on my phone, but I'm not texting, I'm putting in wee notes, things to remember for the video. Days like yesterday, I feel there's just so much happening, and as a supporter, you're so nervous that I don't tend to do that. I tend to just try and, engross myself. It was pretty manic yesterday. I mean, the scenes before the game were excellent. I really felt we made it into a hostile place for them to come to. And as I say, when you rewatch the match after you get home, you come to some different conclusions. I probably didn't give enough credit to some of our players. Thought Greg Taylor had an excellent game yesterday. Actually didn't really put a foot wrong throughout the match. He's just turned into such a good player for us. It's crazy where he's come from to become a not just like a Celtic first teamer, but a really important Celtic player. And when he's missing, I think we really notice him. Callum McGregor, I thought was really good as well. Yeah, he maybe had a couple of slack passes like a few of our players, but certainly not as many as some, and really drove the team forward in key moments. He had a run in the first half where he kind of did that typical McGregor, darting between 2 players, carrying the ball with him. A couple in the second half as well. There was one when he really battled with about 3 Rangers players, got away with the ball and got clattered by one of them, and I really felt he brought that aggression to our performance yesterday, that if we hadn't have had that, it might have been even more difficult to get a result. So McGregor was a big player. Carl Starfelt as well was probably the more assured one of the 2 centre-backs, which is something you don't normally say, just given how good Carter Vickers is and how consistent the American is. Carl Starfelt was really, really good yesterday, used the ball as well. And obviously the two that people are all talking about that we spoke about yesterday, Alistair Johnson, probably man of the match, and Kyogo as well, who got the 2 goals. Could have had more as well. We weren't at our best yesterday, that is totally fair. But I still think Celtic were the better team for the majority of that match. I looked at some of the stats as well. We had 55% possession. We had a higher XG than Rangers by a wee bit. 1.09 reserves compared to 0.69, which is kind of very low given there was 5 goals in the match. We had 100 more passes than them. And I generally, watching the game, I thought we controlled parts of that match. Were certainly the team that were, pushing more in that match. These games against Rangers, certainly not the 4-0 one at the start of the season, but basically all of the other ones, they have spells in it. It's not like the other matches we have against other teams in Scotland. They're a good team. They have spells in these matches. They tend to go in kind of spells, these games. And I would say yesterday we were probably the better team for most of the first half, created the better chances. Start of second half, I think they were certainly the better team for probably about 10 minutes or so. But after that, all the way up until it went to 3-2, we were the team that could have scored a few more goals. We could have probably scored 3 or 4 goals in that period, and we only got 2. And then maybe the last 10 minutes or so, they were the team pushing, but we still had big chances. Bernabe, and obviously just the very nature of them needing a goal for the match and for the title race, if it ever was a title race, meant that we were going to be the team defending a bit more. But I think the majority of that match, we were the team pushing, we were the team who created the more clear-cut opportunities. So yeah, I take exception to the whole narrative that Rangers were somehow deserving of a draw yesterday. I thought it was a deserved victory for us. I would say that though. Let's stop hearing from me and go on to some other comments, starting with Neil McCormick saying Kyogo's first goal was reminiscent of Kenny Dalglish, the way he shielded, turned and slammed it into the net. Fantastic. Now, I'm obviously far too young to remember Kenny Dalglish playing at all. What I will say is that Kyogo's first goal was brilliant. I kind of didn't realise how good a first touch it was until I saw the replays. I kind of just thought, right, it's come to me, turned it away and then he's fired it in, and I thought the finish was the really good bit, and the finish was great, but it's that first touch, it's kind of like he takes it while also spinning. It's like world class first touch, which we've seen from Kyogo before, and a wonderful finish. So can't comment on the Dalglish stuff, but loved that goal. Stomp City, remember Rangers were desperate, we weren't. That's hard to play against. I'm not saying we're coasting, just not desperate. I think that was the one worry going into yesterday's game for me anyway, is that they were the ones with nothing to lose, and it must be a tough game. It's a tough enough game going into a derby like that with the pressure of the home support as well, but knowing that Rangers had nothing to lose and they could throw everything at us, the situation didn't really get too much worse for them. Yes, they're 3 points behind, further behind, but they've gone from not having much chance of winning the league to certainly having no chance of winning the league. So, they're not going to win the league either way. And I thought, given that we were the team who kind of knew that a draw would be acceptable in terms of the title race at least, to still find a way to win that game, I thought was just excellent. And it can't have been easy at all to deal with a team who just can kind of throw caution to the wind and has nothing to lose. MYTMT, lengthy one here, but I think it's quite interesting. This will be unpopular, but it is what I think. Our last 3 games against Rangers, all I have heard is we never play well, but still got a result from our fans and pundits. We are never taking into account Beale has improved them, and that is the real reason for our displays. 3 games on the trot is not a coincidence. They are making it harder. Cannot stand them or the manager, but I give them a bit of credit for improving. We are still better, not miles better by any stretch, but in a 2-horse race, neither horse is that far behind. Celtic will pump them in the semi and go on to do another treble, no question about it. Next season is another chapter though. Chatting to a few people after the game yesterday as the night went on, and a few people were saying this to me, that as much as we don't like Rangers and all that, they're not a bad team. I don't know if it's just because the rest of Scottish football, the standard is so poor, and the likes of Hearts and Hibs really don't offer anything and can barely lay a glove on us when they play us, that you just notice that Rangers are so much better than those other teams. But, they're not a bad team. They create opportunities, albeit the vast majority come from set pieces. But, they still move the ball about at times. They still have decent individual players who can hurt you if you're not at the top of your game. And, these derby games, I still think we will have the odd wonderful, wonderful day when, we batter them, and we've seen that over the last year or so, 3-0, 4-0 at Celtic Park. I still think that could happen occasionally when Celtic are at their best and they're having an off day. But I think the vast majority of these derby games that we're going to see between, Postecoglou, Celtic and Beale's Rangers, or even, future Rangers teams probably, are going to be like yesterday. They're going to be nervy. Both teams are going to create chances. And I think what I'm really saying here is that this is a credit to this Celtic team, that they are up against a decent Rangers side and have won 3 out of the 4 derbies this season. I think in terms of league derbies, we're like maybe unbeaten in 6. Like it's a good record this team has, and to keep this decent, maybe even good Rangers team second by such a considerable margin, and it is a considerable margin. 12 points is a big advantage to have, I think is excellent. And this semi-final that's coming up, I don't really want to go into it too much because that's for another day. But it's going to be another tough one. It's going to be another really nervy one, probably settled by, a goal or possibly going to extra time, because both teams are relatively similar on a one-off occasion. But I just think Celtic have that extra bit of quality and that extra bit of kind of know-how and getting over the line, which I think is an amazing credit to this team. I mean, most of the games this season have been really tight. Certainly the games in 2023 have all been really tight. But, we've won 2 of those 3 games against Michael Beale's Rangers, and they're yet to win 1. And I think going into that semi-final, if they don't win that, the pressure really ramps up on him. And I know you're kind of alluding to it there, that they're going to get stronger next season. We are as well. And I think that's what I was touching on yesterday. It's not as if we've hit our kind of peak and Rangers are coming up and we're thinking, they're going to go past us. It's almost as if they're coming up, but we're certainly going to keep improving. And I actually think we are more guaranteed to improve next season under Ange than they are under Beale, because I think they're going to lose more players. I don't think we're going to lose any players we don't want to lose this summer. I think, possibly Abada will move on, maybe Turnbull as well. Other than that, I don't think we'll lose any key players that we don't want to. But even if we do, hopefully we have the ability to replace them under Ange and, this recruitment team. So, in summary, it's going to continue to be nervy in these one-off matches against Rangers, but back this Celtic team to come out on top more often than not. Next up, Snowman, a shorter one. AJ had Kent in his pocket. Love Dura, but AJ is an upgrade. Again, this is something I've been hearing from a lot of fans, and I feel the same way, that Alistair Johnson has certainly the potential to be as good as Juranovic. There's an argument that yesterday's performance was as good as anything Juranovic put in a Celtic shirt. I know the 3-0 game, Juranovic was brilliant, but for me, Johnson was just as good yesterday in terms of his tackling, what he offered going forward. And I think Ange was quoted after the game as saying that he would start a fight with himself, which kind of sums him up. Right, Daniel McLean, just rewatched the game, and it really wasn't as close as I first thought. Other than 5-10 minutes at the start of the second half, and then 10 or 15 minutes around when they scored their second, they didn't really touch a glove on us. We were wasteful today, and Moy in particular was completely off it. All their positive play came from poor play from us, not them actually creating anything themselves. Even our second and third goals, which they are saying came from their mistakes, which is true, but it's Jota's pressing on both goals that actually makes the mistake. Good 3 points and on to the next. Bring on the semi as well. If we can play it the way we know we can, then it's only going to go one way. I agree with a lot of that. I mean, most of their big opportunities yesterday came from us being slack. Certainly the ones from open play I can think of. There was like a few when we just passed the ball to them. Even Alistair Johnson late on in the game had that one that then Morelos and Kent both kind of ducked responsibility and kept passing it to each other. Set pieces were the other worry yesterday, and trying not to give daft set pieces away against them. I felt we did that a bit yesterday. O'Reilly was guilty. O was guilty late on with that one Barisic put over. And I think that's something we really have to watch out for and improve on in the semi-final. No slack passes, no daft set pieces being given away. I think in terms of the first bit of that, Hatate will make a massive difference. And I don't think Aaron Moy and even Cameron Carter-Vickers will play as poorly in the game in the semi-final if they play in that match. So, that game's its own thing. I don't want to start previewing it yet. And we're finishing with a cracker. Jukebox Junkie 1000. Better luck next year, Rangers. Just amazing stuff, amazing feeling. No matter how many times you play them and beat them, that feeling just never gets old. The feeling of scoring against them is just like nothing else. The feeling of full time is incredible as well. The feeling never gets old, as me, Stevie, and a few other guys realised last night. Lovely evening last night. Hopefully a lot of you had similar enjoyment. And just enjoy moments like this, because it's not always going to be like this, and we all know how much it hurts to lose these matches. We will, however, win more than we lose with Ange at the helm. And just on Ange, some typically inspiring quotes from him post-match yesterday. Speaking to BBC Radio Scotland after the game, he said, "We've still got 7 games to go in the league and a cup semi-final, so there are some opportunities to produce some magic and win some games of football. I'm not going to let anyone dismiss any of these games. We recover and we enjoy this. I said to the players after the game that if you can make one person's life better, you don't understand how enriching and rewarding that is. But they've made countless of thousands of lives better for the next few days at least. They need to enjoy that and appreciate that, because they've done something special." You run out of superlatives for Ange at this stage, but terrific. What a guy. A few things to round off. Finally, Rangers greeting about VAR. Sky Sports reporting that they will write to the SFA for an explanation over why Alfredo Morelos' goal in the first half was disallowed. Now, if anyone at the SFA is watching this and fancies a long Easter weekend and doesn't fancy replying to Rangers, I am more than happy to reply to that email. Just forward it on to me and I'll make sure they get a response, probably a 4-letter word followed by a 3-letter word. Haven't seen it again. I mean, it's clearly a foul. The issue that they seem to be bringing up is that there's shirt tugging going on from both Johnson and Morelos, and they're both at it, which is true. The issue isn't the shirt tugging though. The issue is right before the ball, comes to him and goes into the net, Morelos shoves Johnson. That's where the foul is. Johnson doesn't shove Morelos at any stage. It's a foul. And I really don't get it. And as I say, hopefully that's the kind of response they get. Borna Barisic looked like he'd had enough post-match. I don't know if you saw these videos, but filmed walking out the stadium with his teammates. Obviously abuse been shouted at them. Probably friendly stuff from Celtic fans. And at least twice he shouted back at Celtic fans. So he is clearly struggling with being second best once again. Lovely free kick at the end from him. Underrated part of yesterday, I just wanted to bring up, first 75 minutes of the game, we're taking quick throw-ins, we're taking quick goal kicks, the ball's going out for a goal kick, and literally 0.5 of a second later, Joe Hart's got the ball from the other ball boy and is rolling it out, and the ball's back in play. Then we get to the last maybe the last 10 minutes, and the ball boys or ball girls are no longer required, let's just say, because Joe Hart is going 30 yards away to fetch the ball. And I just thought that was more evidence of Celtic, this Celtic team having more about them than just, the style. Really being about substance as well and getting over that line and getting that result. So I found that quite amusing, albeit not at the time because I was completely bricking it in the last 10 minutes, but enjoyable to watch that again. And finally, some shout-outs. Met some great people yesterday. Ross and Chris from the Kölner Brigade. Is it Cologne in Germany. It's the Kölner Brigade Celtic Glasgow fan club. Lovely guys who watch the channel. And also Eugene Kelly and Adam McCormick from Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. You may remember I met a few of those guys actually in Philly. They gave me this wonderful scarf. Is that the right way around? Yeah. Gave me this wonderful scarf, and I met a couple of other guys from that CSC yesterday, so that was lovely to see them. And yet more evidence of Celtic being a totally global club. And yeah, there'll be people watching this around the world, wherever you are. It's always a nice wee time, I think, after a big derby win like this that means so much, for you to let us know where you're watching from. It always kind of amazes me where in the world you're watching. I'm sure we'll have people from the Ploughboys CSC in Philly watching this. We had a great day yesterday, and you know, people in Ange's kind of hometown, Melbourne, or elsewhere in Australia or Asia. Yeah, just let us know where you're watching from, and it's amazing to have you all along for this journey. Even if you're from London Road, born there or whatever, then you're just as welcome. We're all Celtic fans, and it was an amazing day yesterday. And we're at Easter now, so have a great Easter Sunday and a great long weekend, and we'll be back on Tuesday to chat a bit more about this wonderful Celtic team under Ange Postecoglou.